We had left our settlement a few hours ago, and I was traveling alone, only me and my friend Leo. We had just got out of a forest that we were not familiar with. Maybe that could be our new hunting spot. Our fish have been quite scarce lately. It was odd because it has sustained us for the past 8 months. That's why we were here. We were looking for a town or somewhere that had hunting tools, maybe different types of seeds. We could be sustained by something other than carrots and a small portion of fish. Oh, I had missed big portions of fish, I thought to myself. I was quite happy because it was bright and sunny. We must have been in the forest for hours, and it was very dark there, nothing more than trees as far as could see, and a shimmer of light every once in a while. I looked back at Leo, still waiting for my eyes to fully adjust to the broad sunshine. He was eating some carrots and his last bit of fish. He then took his backpack off his shoulders and stopped walking. Then put his Tupperware container that held his fish back into the front compartment. Then put the bag back onto his shoulders and continued walking. I looked down at my watch and it read 5:32. Then I thought, the sun should set around in 30 minutes. Maybe I wasn't happy waking up so early then, but I was now, because if we had waited any longer, we might have missed the cliff that looks like it has some nice shelter. Leo saw it right after I did, and exclaimed, "Let's try to get there as soon as we can. We can get some firewood and set up camp." So I challenged him to a race, and as always he accepted. 3, 2, 1, go! I yelled. We started running as fast as we could. It took a few seconds until we arrived at the cliff. I could hear our panting as we laid on the floor of our new shelter. Leo said, "Let's get some firewood." I nodded in agreement, and we got up and walked about 20 meters. We found a good place to climb up. I started up the cliff. It was only about 9 feet tall, and it took me about 15 seconds to climb. Soon after I reached the top, Leo's eyes met mine as he appeared over the thick grass covering the edge of the cliff. I took a look at the beautiful scenery. On the right was the forest that we came out of. It connects the forest on top of the cliff that we were on. Then straight ahead lays a lake with the sun shivering off of it, and a gust of wind flies past me. I take a calming deep breath and smile. I realized I'm starting to enjoy this new life. You see, it always wasn't like this. Let me take you back 9 months to where this all started. I wiped my eyes and let out a groan. It was another Monday. I start to once again regret playing Call of Duty till 1:30. I get up, barely awake, and walk to my kitchen to get myself some scrumptious cold flakes. For copyright reasons, of course. And oh boy, do I love the mascot, a leopard playing hockey. Tony the leopard is my friend Leo's favorite mascot too. When I'm done with my cereal, I have a shower, brush my teeth, and get all of my school supplies ready. I sprint out the door, and I nearly miss the bus. Shuffle up the stairs and sit down on the 4th seat to the right. I fall asleep with my head pressed against the hard window, only to dream about my math homework that I forgot to do. I instantly wake up, pull it out of my bag, and start to scribble random equations on it. My brain is still asleep, so I can't do the questions anyways. I arrive at school, pass by a few friends, and head right to class. A few hours later, the bell rings and school is out. All of the students simultaneously start walking and talking, packing up their bags. I head out and say sorry to Mr. A for being asleep for most of the day, and I headed to the lineup where I met up with my friend Leo. We decided to walk home. "Hello? Ritu Isaac? Hello?" Leo asked impatiently. "Sorry, I was just thinking about something," I replied. "Okay, well, let's get some kindling so we can have a nice fire and not freeze tonight. It's getting late." "Good idea," I agreed. We start to walk to the forest. Sticks and pine needles cracked under our feet. It was almost like they were getting louder as the sun got dimmer. The farther we go, We frequently pick up sticks and branches that we find on the ground, and then Leo breaks the silence. Isaac, how close do you think we were to dying that day? I pause. Very close. We were lucky that we decided to walk home. My thoughts drifted back to the day again. Crunch, crunch. The gravel made a crunching sound as we walked, making jokes and just plain talking. What a terrible day at school. I barely got any sleep last night, I said. Yeah, maybe because you played Call of Duty till midnight again, Leo replied. Okay, you got me. I just thought I would take most of my weekend, I justified. When we arrived at my house, Leo and I heard something that startled the both of us. Someone was screaming. My eyes widened. It was my brother Will. I rushed inside. Leo followed soon after. I heard another scream to locate where it was. My brother Will had his head down, and beside him was my older brother Ben. He's dead, Will said softly. Dad and now him. It's the cause of the virus. What virus, I asked. It was on the news. A virus that is certain to kill you. You won't die for 10 days before it. But once the 10 days end, you're dead. That's all I know, Will replied. I start to feel tears run down my cheeks. I turned to my brother Will. With a trembling voice, I said, we have to get to the car and leave right now. If the virus could reach Ben and Dad, it could reach any of our family members. We got Mom and Will and Leo. Went to Leo's house. Thankfully, no one of his family had died. But that day, almost everybody passed away at our school because we walked home before the outbreak. And that's what I was referring to when I said, very close. We were lucky that we decided to walk home. That's when we started our journey to somewhere that was isolated far away from the virus, where we are now. And we ended up at our camp, the place we just left on the journey from. My thoughts are put on hold. Peeking through the trees is a giant city, but almost not like a city. Vines are growing out of buildings, and there's no one to be seen. It's completely deserted. Cars are delivered all over the road, and it seems like the animal population has taken back their land. In the distance, I see a deer jumping over an old car. At the same moment, its alarm goes off, and the only sound in the whole entire city is that car beeping. I can see Leo. He's about to start walking down the hill. He was on his way to the city when I stopped him. I explained that we need to go back and set up camp. If there are deer here, there could be predators too. It's a good idea to wait till morning, or we'll become slow, blind food. He agreed. We get back to our little cave under the cliff where we set up the fire and our sleeping bags. We soon fall asleep, and before I know it, I'm woken up by the sunrise. I sit up, and I'm happy to be woken up by such a beautiful sight. I get on my shoes, take a look at Leo's sleeping bag. He's still not up. Then I start walking to the water. When I get there, I take off my shoes and dangle them in the water for about 20 minutes. Until Leo called from behind, "Let's go explore the big city!" "Yeah!" I yelled. I start to run to the cliff, and we pack up our camping gear. Once we have everything in our bags and we're ready to go, we climb up the small cliff into the forest, walk about for 10 minutes. When we reach the hill that leads down the city, we start running until I have an idea. What if we drive in one of the cars? We can reach somewhere with hunting tools like a Bass Pro Shop or a local hunting shop. We figured out that something like that would be on the outskirts of the city, for country folk and such to get their supplies. But for now was the hard part, trying to find the car. But most importantly, the keys to match it. We aim for the nearest apartment building and go down to the parking garage underneath. We frantically check every single car for the small chance that some might have their keys in the ignition. No luck. We head up to the housing area. Our only option is to break into somebody's apartment and try to climb over, trying to find some keys. Leo and I stood in front of the door. like a wall, but you have to climb over it to achieve greatness. Except at the top of the wall, you get electrocuted. Now what? Asked Leo. I don't know, I replied. I once heard of this guy who was at a meeting demonstrating how sturdy his windows were in his huge apartment building, and he threw himself into one of them. It didn't break the first time, but the second time he threw himself in, instead of the window shattering, it popped out of its frame. It wasn't because the window was breakable. It was because they forgot to put enough glue. Leo looked confused. And what's your point? Leo said. My point is, we throw ourselves into the door until it breaks. He agreed. We then made up a game. The rules are, the first one to break through the door wins. It takes us many tries before we're able to break in, and then I deliver the last blow. Crack! I fell into the apartment with a bit of momentum left and slammed my head in against the door. I didn't care much because the door had finally opened, and I heard Leo say, You were right. The door didn't break down like we anticipated it to, but it broke the wood surrounding the door lock. We start to move into the apartment, and sure enough, the keys are hanging up on the hook beside the door. In fancy letters, it wrote, Porsche. I can't believe our luck. Both of our arms go up. Woo, baby! We both exclaim. I can't believe my eyes. This is going to be a blast, I yelled. Once we reach the parking garage, we start spamming the unlock button in hopes to hear our Porsche. We locate it soon enough, and once we open the doors, we enter the driver's seat, and Leo enters the passenger side. I put the keys in the ignition, turn it on, and the car starts up. Brum, 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 brum. I slowly back out and slowly drive into the small paved hill that leads out. As soon as the car reaches the road, I floor it. The amount of G-forces forces my head back. I yell over the loud engine. Hey, Leo, are you ready for this? Hell yeah, he screams. I took a hard right, pressing the brakes, and we came to a drifting halt. Well, that was fun, I said. Yeah, Leo replied. We turn around and start driving to the outskirts of the city. It takes about 2 hours of driving around until we reach an intersection. There is a sign that read, Blue Lake, 2 kilometers. Now we're talking, I said. I took a left and we end up in another deserted place. I was thinking that it would take an eternity until we found something, but surprisingly, I'm wrong. There's a big sign that read, Anton's Hunting Supplies. This is it, Leo says. We come up to a stop. I jump out and start running to the shop. Instantly, happiness washes over me. There are bows, arrows, crossbows, knives. We take as much as we can fit into our new car, and we're off. 2 hours later, we arrived at the area that we came out from the forest. It's almost night time. We step out of our Porsche and walk into the forest about 10 minutes until we arrive at our cliff that we set up camp in. Both of us stare at the sunset. What a journey, Leo said. What a journey indeed, I agreed. The end.